I've spoken to a number of women who live in London who just want to leave, who just genuinely don't feel safe on the tube at night. People in the smart end of town, who go out for dinner in the smart restaurants or hotels, they go out without watches.
Today I want to show you a recent interview with Nigel Farage. I really like that his party is the only one that criticises Starmer and his government. They really always tell the truth. I've selected the most interesting scenes for you, so we're starting to watch.
Can Trump ever be safe from assassination?
No, I'm afraid not. His safe spaces were Mar-a-Lago and the golf club, and that's where he spends most of his time. And it's proved not to be safe. And I can't even imagine what's going through his mind. To a much lesser degree, when I announced that I was going to run in the general election, the first day I was in Clacton and a woman ran up and threw a milkshake in my face. 2 days later, I was in Barnsley and some yob threw a cup full of cement at the bus. I got to tell you, I woke up the next morning thinking, can I go on campaigning? Can I actually go on going out? Doesn't matter how much security you have around you, if you're actually going out to meet people, the risk of these things is always there. Now, I did carry.
What is definitely true is the sharp rise in Trump's ratings after the unsuccessful assassination attempt on him. It is this circumstance that breeds all kinds of conspiracy theories. What if there was no attempt? What if it was Trump himself who arranged everything to improve his position? Undoubtedly, if this is a staging, then it could not have been carried out without Trump's consent. And now answer this question for yourself. Would you personally agree to be shot at with a weapon in the head area with a sight on your ear? Even from 10 meters away, even the most experienced shooter? Even with the best rifle with the best sight? I think only 1% of people would agree to such a thing. Any weapon, even the most advanced, has a certain shot error. Or maybe there was no bullet at all? This is the next level of conspiracy theory. But for any conspiracy theorist, this is generally typical. He puts forward a naive theory, which is easily broken by arguments, and then, in order to maintain faith in his own rightness, begins to produce new theories that are even more divorced from reality. So the next level of conspiracy theory is that there was no bullet. Trump just pretended that someone hit him in the ear, then fell on the stage and got up with blood on his face. He also underwent a medical examination, and his opponents definitely have their own people everywhere. They would 100% know that there was no injury and there was no injury. He's already winning in all the polls. Biden is already going to leave. And here, for some reason, Trump goes for a high-risk imitation. That is, instead of increasing his rating, he could just bring it down. Because this is already a direct deception, fraud, betrayal of voters, an attempt to play on the highest feeling compassion.
Well, look, the Donald uses very colourful language. Whether communist is quite right, but there's certainly a strain of Marxism running through there somewhere.
Do you think she's a diversity hire?
Well, Joe Biden said before she was even selected that was what he was going to pick. He was going to pick a woman, and if it could be a woman of colour, even better. Hey, we've seen this all through the corporate world as well. It isn't just politics. All the big American firms have gone crazy on this diversity agenda. And so you finish up with people getting jobs and positions based not on ability. But I think the pendulum's coming back.
Labour sent a whole landing force of its campaigners for Kamala Harris to the United States in an attempt to influence the outcome of the American presidential election. About 100 current and former workers of the ruling party will campaign in several states. North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Nevada, and Virginia will be taken into circulation. They are trying to explain to Americans who they should vote for and what kind of president they need. It is surprising that the British, regardless of Labour or Conservatives, are working hard to deliberately reduce the level of America's relations with England with the expected victory of Trump.
Two-tier justice, where people who say beastly things on Facebook might get 2 or 3 years in prison. But others who commit really very serious offences get non-custodial sentences, like the guy that threw cement at me. Non-custodial. So what does it say? Just go and do it. 85 quid the fine. You get a bigger fine for not paying the charge to cross the Dartford Bridge than he got. So it's two-tier all the way through, and this is going to bite two-tier Keir. You watch. This is going to bite.
Essex County law enforcement officers arrest an average of 160 people each year for malicious communications. And in London a few years ago, 800 people were arrested for malicious communications. Another very remarkable fact is London, which holds the absolute record for the number of CCTV cameras. In the British capital, 420,000 pieces are hung on the streets, which is no less than 20% of all street cameras on the planet. Moreover, with their help, only 3% of the crimes committed are solved. So in Britain, not only a regime has been built that controls all public communications and arrests for political views, but also total surveillance of the country's population has been organized. Moreover, judging by the detection of crimes with the help of cameras, they are installed not at all in order to find a thief or a fraudster, but solely to protect the established regime from its own citizens. Today the world lives in a reality where the governments of European countries monitor their populations, and the US intelligence services have organized total surveillance of European governments. And these people are trying to tell us about freedom of opinion and democracy.
To the issue of migration. In the US, when they had a period of mass migration in the late 19th century, early 20th century, they closed their borders largely in the 1920s for, I think, almost 3 decades. Do you think Britain should do the same?
Pretty much. I think we should aim for, let's give net zero a different meaning. People are always going to come and go, and we are a country that's engaged in international trade, and we have relationships around the world through the Commonwealth, etc. But yeah, we have to aim at a balanced migration policy.
But net zero still means hundreds of thousands of people coming into Britain, immigrants coming into Britain. Isn't that too many?
It may well be, but we have to start somewhere. We have to start.
Joe Biden, if he wanted, could close the border to illegal migrants who instead commit crimes with impunity in New York. When Joe Biden came to power, the United States had the lowest level of illegal migration in 45 years, but he deliberately broke the system. He opened the border, and the numbers immediately soared. 9.6 million illegal migrants entered the country.
I'm just concerned about a deeply divided society. I'm concerned about a society which they tell us that they keep telling us the crime figures are improving. I think that's because people just don't bother to report crime anymore. People feel far less safe going out and about. And I know, I've spoken to a number of women who live in London who just want to leave, who just genuinely don't feel safe on the tube at night. People in the smart end of town, who go out for dinner in the smart restaurants or hotels, they go out without watches.
Britain has been overwhelmed by a crime wave. Due to the inaction of the police, thieves and robbers feel complete impunity, and all this happens with the tacit consent of society. It would be good if everything were limited to loud headlines, and Britain was not really such a lawless country as it seems. If only the shocking cases of robbery and violence that we hear about so often happened only sporadically and were embellished. But alas, the crime rate is not as low as we would like. Most likely, this is due to 2 reasons: a sharp cultural degradation and the generally accepted opinion that the police are unwilling or unable to investigate most crimes, especially shoplifting. The power of bandits and criminals has become so strong that it seems they are able to stop the economy and destroy the very sense of security. However, a weak, understaffed and ideologically flawed police force no longer seems to be a force that can be taken seriously, let alone feared. And even if she was such a force, what consequences can criminals expect? Prisons are loaded to the limit. There are simply not enough resources to prevent offenses and punish criminals. That is why many stores become a target for theft.
How loathed they are by people that have come to reform for their total betrayal of everything that was promised in the 2019 manifesto. No idea.
Which one of them are you most worried about? Is it generic? Is it Kemi?
Couldn't care less. Couldn't care less. They're all nobodies. They're complete nobodies. And whatever else.
The Conservatives decided to surprise their rivals Labour, Liberals and even the Greens, and not to give them time to properly prepare their election campaigns. As a result, they were very badly disgraced, but unfortunately they were not replaced by the best government. What do you think about this video? Write your opinion in the comments. See you.